In the dynamic world of the Calamity mod, teeming with unpredictable risks, the Ranger stands undaunted amidst the chaos. Have you taken up the mantle of the Ranger? If so, welcome to the Supreme Ranger Progression Guide for Terraria's Calamity mod. This comprehensive guide covers the Ranger class in full detail, providing you with optimal loadouts for every stage and boss that the mod throws your way. Credit to Steam user D.O.G for the original written guide that this one is based off of, and I'll link that down below. First up, the King Slime. For this fight, you'll want to use the Mini Shark with flash rounds ammo, Wolfram armor, and the following accessories: Shark Tooth Necklace, Hermes Boots, Rover Drive, Cloud, Blizzard or Sandstorm in a bottle, and Rusty Medallion. Next up, then you want to slay the Desert Scourge boss. For the Eye of Cthulhu, you should have Victide armor by now. When fighting Crabulon, your setup should include the Shield of Cthulhu as a replacement for the Rover Drive. After this fight comes the Eater of Worlds if your world is based off of the Corruption biome. Then, if you're alternatively in the Crimson instead, you can fight the Brain of Cthulhu instead of the Eater of Worlds here. After breaking at least one Shadow Orb or Crimson Heart, Goblin invasions can then occur at any time at this point, which will then unlock reforging. You should focus on gathering some money though for reforging all your weapons and accessories. Currently you should have 5 slots for accessories, so focus on 3 menacing and 2 warding accessories. Also, after the Eater and Brain bosses, you can get the Star Cannon, which does great damage versus every pre-hard mode boss, even the Wall of Flesh itself. But this is extremely costly to use because you need to gather lots of stars for its ammo. You can optionally choose to build a huge platform across the map to gather stars if you want to use the weapon in place of the Mini Shark, but it's your choice. For the Hive Mind boss, we're running the Rusty Medallion, Frostbark Boots, Shield of Cthulhu, Cloud in a Bottle, and Luxor's Gift. Then comes the Perforators next up. For the Queen Bee, we'll make use of Aerospec armor for this fight. By Skeletron, we will switch out our Mini Shark now for a new weapon choice, the Bow Gale Force with Hellfire arrows. Before the wall, you'll be facing the Slime God by this point. For this fight, we want to use the Phoenix Blaster Gun with Super Ball bullets for our weapon, and switch out Luxor's Gift for Skyline Wings for heightened mobility. Building a giant platform across the map is a useful strategy for fighting this boss, but you shouldn't make the platform all the way across the width because it can block the astral biome spawning once you hit hard mode. This platform can then be reused later to fight some of the other challenging bosses like Calamitas and D.O.G. For the Wall of Flesh, switch out our set for Statigal armor now. After defeating the Wall of Flesh, you can acquire the Demon Heart, which will grant you 6 accessory slots. You should have 3 menacing and 3 warding accessories in terms of reforges now for a balance. For Cryogen, we want the Flame Wing Bow with Ichor arrows and Frost armor when using old hard mode settings, or Mollusk armor with the new hard mode settings, with Magic Quiver, Frostbark Boots, Shield of Cthulhu, Ranger Emblem, Amalgamated Brain, and Frozen Wings. The hard mode settings is basically an activated option in the config called Early Hard Mode Progression Rework, which makes you unable to acquire titanium or adamantite resources until you defeat the second mechanical boss if you have it enabled. For the mechanicals, we want to use the Daedalus Storm Bow with Holy Arrows. Old hard mode settings would optionally require you to use Daedalus armor here from now on, over the Mollusk gear, which will then also continue on the next boss, which we're going to use anyway. When defeating all the mechanicals, you can then fight Plantera and unlock Golem, then the Cultist. You can skip some Calamity bosses too during this period, and come back with strong items from these vanilla bosses, which will make them a little bit easier to down. For the Aquatic Scourge, we want Angel Treads in place of our Frostbark Boots now. For the next boss, Brimstone Elemental, use the weapon Seize Sharing and these accessories: Ambrosial Ampullae, Angel Treads, Ornate Shield, Ranger Emblem, Amalgamated Brain, and Starlight Wings. And after this boss, as per usual, down Calamitas. You can make use of the platform which I suggested you to create earlier now, and using the Blessed Apple mount is really great here too. It's best fit to then slay Plantera at this point too, because it's the natural sense of progression. For Leviathan and Anahita, we want to use Shroomite armor with Shroomite Mask. We want the Sandshark Tooth Necklace, Angel Treads, Asgard's Valor, Ranger Emblem, Amalgamated Brain, and Hoverboard. Then next you want to slay the Astrium Aureus boss. Of course then followed by the Golem, which is located within the Jungle Temple. Now for Plaguebringer Goliath, you want to have the Hellstorm as your primary weapon with Hyperius bullets and Plague Reaper armor, making you look like a witch doctor. Accessories are Alchemical Flask, Angel Treads, Asgard's Valor, Artemis Emblem, Void of Extinction, and Steampunk Wings. Note that this armor set doesn't have a winged variant, which is why we're pairing it with some. You'll get 8 defense, 10% increased movement speed, 4% increased damage, and 2% critical strike chance with this set. You can buy it from the Steampunker after you down Golem. Next up is the Fishman himself, Duke Fishron in the Ocean biome. This guy seems so hard in vanilla, but in Calamity he's pretty simple, in comparison to old Duke at least. Followed by defeating Ravager right after. Then also the Lunatic Cultist at the dungeon. Now onto Astrium Deus on the lead up to Moonlord. Use the charged Dart Blaster with crystal darts and change the Alchemical Flask for Plague Hive. Now for the big bad of vanilla himself, Moonlord. Use the Vortex Popper with Chlorophyte bullets for this guy. From the treasure bag that drops from the Moonlord fight, you can get the Celestial Onion, which lets you then unlock an additional accessory slot, totaling to 7. Ranger armors are the second strongest in terms of their defense, which is why you can aim for 4 menacing and 3 warding accessories now. For the Guardians, make use of Planetary Annihilation with wooden arrows, as well as Vortex armor and the Absorber, Seraph Tracers, Asgard's Valor, Artemis Emblem, Void of Extinction, Sniper Scope, and Magic Quiver. Then drop the Dragon Folly boss next up if you have the heart for it. Now for Providence, let's pack a real punch with the Elemental Eruption Gun, which uses gel for ammo. Switch out the Magic Quiver for the community here. It's a good idea to defeat Providence in both the Hallow and the Underground because the biome specific drops are fairly nice, and the Rod of Discord is particularly useful if you fight in the Hallow biome, as it will shoot out a Holy Ray which sweeps across the area for huge damage output. Using Starfleet versus the Dark Energies in this fight, using stars for ammo, and the Elemental Blaster directly at the Ceaseless Void when it's vulnerable, you want to use Tarragon armor for this engagement. It's advisable here to carve out a huge room within the dungeon for this fight, which you can also reuse later to fight the Polterghast. For the Stormweaver, we'll use Blissful Bombardier with Rocket 3, which it uses as ammo. For Cygnus, use the Dragonfire weapon Pristine Fury. We're leading on to the Polterghast now. Remember that room that we created earlier? Here's where it's handy. Use the Sea Dragon with Bloodfire bullets for this fight to drop down the boss. Forget Fishron, the old Duke comes at this point. We need Blood Flare armor for this fight, and he's pretty tough at first. By the point of D.O.G, we want 2 weapons, Sulfuric Acid Cannon against the D.O.G boss himself, and Halley's Inferno against the Cosmic Guardians, which are the adds of the fight. Remember to shoot the body of D.O.G too, not just the head, because the first weapon does pretty good DPS versus it. For Yharon, use Alluvion with wooden arrows and the Godslayer armor with the Sponge, Elysian Tracers, Asgardian Aegis, Elemental Quiver, Core of the Blood God, Rampart of Deities, and the Community. The Slimy Saddle is also useful as a mount versus this boss because falling fast throughout this fight is important and very useful. For the mechs, we're going to use the minigun with Godslayer Slugs ammo with Auric Tesla armor. We'll also change our Elysian Tracers for Celestial Tracers. Now for SCal himself, we'll make use of Photo Viscerator with slime ammo. Finally, you're at the end game, but don't stop just yet. We still have the adult Eidolon Wyrm to defeat. We'll be switching our community out for the Nebulous Core here. We also will now use the endgame Demon Shade armor set too. This is a particularly tricky fight, especially since it's underwater, and you need to make sure you've got mobility here and underwater breathing. Congratulations, my friend, you have now finished the Path of the Ranger. Thanks for watching this video. If you found this guide useful, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe for more Terraria videos, and check out my other Calamity Mod class guides on the channel. At this point, I've made a guide for the Melee class, the Mage class, and the Rogue class before this Ranger class guide video, and I plan to make videos for the rest of the classes too, so stay engaged on the channel if you want to see those. Catch you real soon.